Vincent. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Sarah? How are you doing today? It's
I'm
great.
well. I'm so
Great.
glad that you agreed to be on the show for us to have a little conversation.
Anything for you. Anything. So good to be on here and enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that brings up a good point. I've had a lot of coaches on the show that I worked with, student athletes, and I always love telling people like how these connections happen. And you and I met your first stint at the University of South Alabama when I was in the academic department.
Absolutely. And you did such a great job in all the areas. And that's why we developed a relationship. You're so good with our kids and really cared about them and did such a great job. And I like to surround myself with people like that, people that do things the right way and put people first.
Yeah. Oh, it was a fun ride for sure. And people I think a lot of times they don't understand how that like relationship works with academics and especially a large sport like football. But the way we kind of had it broken down is I worked on the offensive side of things. And so I got to work really closely with you and their students and how you operate. And one of the things that we partnered on a ton was recruiting.
No
And
doubt.
and meeting with these parents and students. And so that's what I kind of want us to dive in a little bit today, because first of all, you're still doing all of that. You're still recruiting and you're offensive coordinator at UAB. And so when you're out on the road and you're looking for student athletes to bring them to on campus, what are some of those qualities you look for?
Well, obviously the number one thing is your athletic ability per position on what fits our system, whether you're an offensive lineman, whether you're a tight end, running back, quarterback, receiver, D lineman, and so forth. So, if we're coming to see you or we're recruiting you, then you have passed the athletic quality. The thing that's a big deal to us, and everybody recruits differently, but is the right kind of kid. That's what we say. Is he the right fit for UAB? And we have those discussions. So the things that we look for are number one, do they love football? That's a question that we have to answer, and our coaches have to come back and answer to us is, do they love football? Because when you come to college, the time constraints and the time management and all those things play a factor, and it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a lot more strenuous, in college than it was in high school. So do they love football? Do they lead? What are their leadership skills? What are their leadership traits? How do they treat others? Are they a great teammate is a big thing for us. And you hear us talk about a lot is when things are bad, who are they? So we're not looking at just highlight films, or we're not looking at their top plays. When they're down 21-10, or they're down things, or a quarterback just threw a pick or a running back fumbled, how do you handle it? Because at the end of the day, it's called adversity. And it's everywhere in every shape, Sarah, in every form. And to me, we won 3 West championships in a row. We won 2 out of 3 conference championships. We were down 13-3 in 2018 in the conference championship game. And if we would have had a team of kids that dropped their heads or started pointing fingers, we would have never come back and won that game. So that's some of the reasons we ask these questions. Do they fit in our culture? Is their personality fit in our culture? And so as crazy as it sounds, you got to pass the first test of athletic ability. Then we want to dig into what type of kid he is, and is it the right fit for us?
Oh, that's huge because, we talk a lot on the show about like, it's no longer just about being the star athlete. There's so much that's involved in it. And we can, and I've seen this happen time and time again. It's like, we have a great athlete, but when they don't check the boxes of the leadership, the discipline, and let's throw this in there, academics, you're going to go down the list to choose the next person.
No doubt. No doubt about it. And it's just, and then it's that important too. And that's what parents need to understand. It's that important that these boxes get checked. Because if I'm a high school kid right now, then hell, I got the transfer portal. I've got junior college going on. I've got all these things going on. And, weird things that we have to look at and that we have to judge. So you got the transfer portal going on right now. And I start to see a kid that's transferring high schools, right? At an early age in high school. I had a quarterback ask me, his dad asked me this last session or last spring after this last season, he goes, Coach, why aren't you recruiting my kid? He's really talented. I said, you've been to 4 high schools in 4 years, and that is a major red flag for us, and we can't recruit you because of that. Because he's going to, as soon as things go bad, at UAB, he's going to be the first one out the door.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings up a great point when we're thinking of the eligibility center, we're thinking of all these things that kids have to submit in there. Like you guys see those transcripts, the first thing you're looking at those. And when those notations of academic stuff, moving high schools, those are kind of start coming in, those red flags do fly a little high.
Very high. And the first thing we do, like, let's say, for instance, we were just out this last January before signing day in February. The first thing, so we're going out now at UAB, we're on the next year's class and obviously the next year's class. So all of our upcoming seniors, the first thing I'm doing, I'm getting updated transcripts. I walk in the high school, I go straight to the guidance counselor. I said an updated transcript on this kid, and this kid. Then we're going to really decide on based off all of the other intangibles if we're going to recruit this kid or not.
Yeah. And I think that's so important for parents to understand, but then also for parents to start having that conversation with their kid.
No doubt.
Because, I mean, because if they're sitting here, they're putting all this money into these private training sessions and all this other stuff. If the parents aren't as involved in like that other piece, like that could crumble super quickly.
It doesn't even matter. So you're out there and you're doing all this training and paying all these guys to do all these things when you can't even get in. You know what I mean? You can't even get into school, much less be able to go there and play and earn a scholarship.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, if you don't have the academics, then everything else, nothing else really matters.
Yeah. And we also we've had this conversation before too, because like me being the academic person, like I want to make sure everybody understands, but like your freshman and sophomore year of high school are almost more important than your junior and senior year.
No doubt about it. And the thing that you see over and over and over is you see guys get to high school in the 9th grade, and we see it all the time. And I tell these guys, they show up and they're excited to be in high school. They're excited to be there. And I finally made it to high school, and they tank or get in the hole bad their 9th grade year. And then you're just fighting out of a hole from really your sophomore year on. And if you add another sophomore year that's bad and you stack back-to-back years of low GPAs, then you've really put yourself in a bind.
And, my brain automatically turns and says, okay, is this going to be the sequence that's going to repeat itself because this excitement and that maybe they're not as disciplined as they should when they get their freshman year of college. It's the same thing. If you start off bad your freshman year, it is an uphill battle every day.
No doubt. And so, for instance, everywhere, but talking about UAB, just like it is everywhere else, when you come in now, you're establishing your UAB GPA. So it's just like high school. You're back to your 9th grade mentality that now I have to maintain a certain GPA now at UAB to stay eligible. So you just start it all back over. And again, if you can learn from those mistakes, if you made those mistakes, then you come in and say, I'm getting off to a good start, and I start a solid foundation. It makes it a lot easier.
Oh, so let's kind of switch that a little bit and say, okay, what of the guys that you have seen, you've coached tons of guys, and some of them have gone on to be great coaches and leaders in medical school and all these things. What are those tangibles that you see while they're on campus that makes them like one of those elite college athletes?
To me, it takes this, and we say this all the time, and we've got some guys that we've really seen mold here in the last year, and we're really excited about them next year, is to become the best version of themselves. We talk about that as, if I looked at you and this is the best version in every area, what would it be? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about academics. I'm showing up on time for class. I'm on time for tutoring. I'm listening. I'm taking notes. I'm reviewing. Okay, well, let's talk about nutrition. What would be the best version of you nutrition? I would get up and I would eat a clean meal with proteins and carbs and the right fat. Same thing at lunch, same thing. And then, okay, what about in the weight room? Okay, I'm going to hit every rep. I'm going to come in and stretch before. So the best version of you as a person when you put the best version of you as a person with the best version of you as a player, those are the guys that have made it.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, I've got an unbelievable athlete over here, but he doesn't have the discipline to get up every day and go to class and go to meetings and go to tutoring. So what makes you think you're going to go to the NFL and become a different person when they have meetings, tutor, all these things, extra game plan sessions? And when you become and you put it together, those are the guys that's made it consistently in the NFL.
And the thing too is, like, you were talking about all the other aspects of like nutrition, lifting, academics, all of these things. And like one of the things popped to my mind is like sleep as well. Like
No doubt.
when you can put all of that in there, and think about if you were to start doing some of these things 1% better your freshman, sophomore year of high school, how quickly could you be the best version of yourself to continue to grow? And like, it's never going to stop. Like, it's never going to stop. Every day you're trying to be better at something, but you learn so much about yourself in the process.
You do. And if you'll just, the thing we stress a lot here is self-evaluation. Look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, find your deficiencies now, because they're going to find you. You know what I mean? And so
I know exactly what you mean.
They're going to grab you. And we just talk to guys about life and things, but all these things are critical that you embrace them and you learn from them and grow from them, because at the end of the day, they're still kids.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And what's the saying? Not everyone is going to go pro in their sport. Like most likely they're going to go pro in something else. And you and I could sit here and name off student athlete after student athlete who went through pro day, who didn't get drafted, who didn't get picked up as a free agent. And now what are they doing? But then on the other side, we could go and say, but look at this kid. He did all these things. He got picked up. He's playing in the NFL. But that kid who's playing in the NFL knows himself inside and out.
Exactly. And he understands the right things that it takes and the maturity that it takes and the discipline and the time management, all the things that you have to put together, or it's never going to happen. You're living a counterfeit life,
Yeah.
Doing.
Oh, that's like a good phrase too, to think about, like, you're living a counterfeit life, because it's like you're putting on a show to be someone else that you're never going to be.
That you can't be, because you're not allowing yourself to become it, because you just can't. You can't get into school and get a Division I scholarship unless you have a 2.5 to qualify, period. In the last 2 years, we hadn't needed an ACT because of, pandemic, but so you better at least have a 2.5 to get in. And if you don't, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
You're living a false.
Well, and I think too, like, and this brings me to the point of like, okay, you need all this academic stuff to like get in the door. And then you're going to have this list of all these other things. Now, say you have two schools that are on the table, one is going to offer you a full ride, because one thing we know about Division I football is either all or nothing.
Right.
And then you get another offer, but it's going to be a walk-on spot. It's going to put you in a tough position if you don't have what it takes to keep that full ride.
No doubt. No doubt. And all it is it comes down to all the things we talked about, the discipline, the drive, the academics, the athletic ability, all those things. And, I think what is it, around 3% of all athletes in the United States sign a Division I scholarship, 3%. So it's not many. And if you have bad grades or you have some discipline issues, you're knocking yourself out pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're talking less than 10% of kids. Like,
that's
I think it's 93% of kids who play sports in high school do not make it to playing a sport in college.
There you go. So if you're in that percentage, what are you going to do to be in that 7? What's going to make you different? And you check all those boxes and you do things the right way. Then, to me, if you can consistently do that, then you'll be one of the last guys standing.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys that just hang in there. They're doing it right. They're doing it right. And they're doing it right. And they eventually work themselves into that position.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so it's cool to see.
Yeah, super cool to see. And then you see them thrive and be super successful. And now it's like, what's on the other side of sports? And they're still doing that because they were so consistent to start with.
There's no doubt. And thing about it too is when you develop all those habits and you become that best version of yourself, well, then, and football ends for you, right? Well, so we've got these accountability teams, and we really challenge our guys to be the power of influence. It's something we talk about a lot is how do you influence the people that are around you? So the power of influence, if I can do that and I can lead a group, but I also got to hold them accountable. Then, okay, a lot of our guys, they get in business management. They want to run their own business. Well, how do you expect to run your business, to manage your people, to get the best out of them, but also hold them accountable if you can't handle your teammate? So a lot of these things we're doing have great life lessons, and that's the reality of life and what college football really should be about. And going out there with your boys and going out there taking the field and playing for a championship is just a reward.
That's really good. But then my brain also goes to, oh man, these kids, Coach, they have to deal with social media.
Oh my gosh. That's a whole different animal. That's such an animal. And so where did this come from? It's crazy.
Well, and how now, like gosh, thank goodness it wasn't around when I was going through the recruiting process and like being a college student, but then also thinking, okay, we're asking 15-year-old kids to use social media as a recruiting platform. And then when they get into college, we now have this whole little thing called the NIL, where we're asking them to build their business, if you will, on their social media.
Right. It's insane. It's crazy. We're in a different era of college football, obviously right now with the transfer portal and the NIL. It's crazy. But at the end of the day, what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. And we're asking these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids to be also mature on social media, which you and I both back at that time probably weren't real mature.
No way.
Think back at it, and one wrong move on social media or one or two wrong moves, now you've eliminated yourself immediately from being that 7%.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you were talking a little bit about accountability and how like you guys do have these accountability groups to hold people together. And I think that's what these kids need to start looking at. Not only is it like your parents holding you accountable, but like you've got to have a group. And if you're working on all of those pieces and the leadership and the discipline and all that, then that accountability group should hold you to that standard to make sure that you don't screw up.
No doubt. And also a big part of it is willing to be led. You know what I mean? Are you willing to be led, and are you willing to lead? So it's a kind of a two-way street, because you got some guys that you've got alphas, and you got some guys that are alphas, but necessarily aren't they're not very outspoken, I should say. So sometimes you got to be willing to be led and also lead. And when the times are tough is when it really matters. But you learn so much about your team in the off season when you put them in these positions and you see the deficiencies. And that's what you got to be put in those situations to be able to find what your deficiencies are as a person, but also as a unit and then as a team.
Yeah. And then hold each other accountable to like work through those deficiencies, to say, here's what we're going to do to get to the next level. Because again, all circles back, knowing who you are as a person, knowing what your goals are, and aligning the right people around you to help you get there.
That's a big deal too. The right people around you, because the power of influence is a big deal that I don't think is talked about as much as it should be. But the power of influence, the people that you have around you, whether it's your tutors or academic support or your coaches or your strength coaches or your trainers, or the people that you hang out with in the dorm, or the people that you hang out with in your apartment after your freshman year, surround yourself with people that have the same mindset as you. That is critical. And obviously we're talking about bringing people with us and leading and holding them accountable. But I think that is a critical point, at the college level, is surround yourself with the right people, guys that think like you, guys that want to work you like you, guys that have the same vision, the same dreams and goals. Because when you do that, like I said, the power of influence is so big and positive people and people that are wanting to do the right thing it's a big deal in being successful. A big deal.
Coach Rick was on the show a while ago, and he was just talking about, like, at that college level, some of those, like, you're meeting your best friends. Like, those are friends for life, teammates for life. Like, you might meet your significant other while you're there. And when you can surround yourself with the right people, that is going to lead you so much further.
So much further. And just when we have like-minded people, and kids, there's like some kids are more influenceable than others. Some people, are going to stand firm to their beliefs. But at that point in time, when you got 18, 19, 20, and 21-year olds, and they're trying to figure out really who they are and what they want to do with their lives. So that group that you run with, that peer group that you run with, and the culture of the program that you're at or the school that you're at is a big deal. So not only are we evaluating the players and the parents, and they need to be evaluating us, and they need to walk in that building and say, you can feel the culture. You'll know if it's real, if it's energetic, if it's positive, real fast. So to me, some advice that I would do too is I would research, the schools that are recruiting your son or recruiting you.
Yeah. And I say it all the time, and I cannot tell you how many students I said this in a recruiting visit is, you have to weigh your pros and your cons, but in the end, you have to go with your gut.
That's right. You have to go, and it'll feel right. You'll know
Mhm.
where it's right. You've got a lot of guys out there who are going to tell you that this and tell you that, and they're going to paint a beautiful picture and make it sound like it's all, rainbows and sunshine. But at the end of the day, go there, feel the culture, scout it out, check the campus, see if you like the feel of campus, and you're comfortable there. And then at the end of the day, when you look at them all, you'll know where the right place is because you'll feel it.
Yes, and I 100% agree. And that even goes past just like college athletics. That goes
Mm.
past, like, if you're trying to find a grad school, or like you're getting your first job and all of that. Once you know who you are as a person, those decisions come so much easier.
So much easier. And it goes back to being the best version of yourself and a complete person. Because then once you're there and you're trying to be great in all aspects, then it's just life gets easier. You're still going to have you're going to have adversity and tough times and all that. But when you know who you are and you're doing the things that it takes to get there, make decisions become a lot clearer. They
So
become
much,
a lot clearer.
so much clearer. Gosh, yeah. So, Coach, the podcast is called Confessions from the Sidelines.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I guess for you, this might be more from sitting in the booth, but what is your favorite memory of standing on the sidelines?
Mm. My favorite memory, I've probably got two. Probably one is the 2018 conference championship, Conference USA championship. We went up there to Murfreesboro. Middle Tennessee had beaten us the week before, week 12. They beat us. And we went home, and we had to turn around and come right back and play Middle Tennessee in the conference championship game. If we would have won, we would have hosted, I think it was FAU in Birmingham. So we had to turn around and play them again. And we went up there. They beat us. It was like 27-3 in the first game. And we turned around and we were down 13-3 in the second quarter and came back and beat those guys like 25-22, up there. That was the first conference championship. So that was a big deal. I'll never forget that moment and what that team had come through. When you go up there and you get beat up and embarrassed, to have the toughness to turn around and go right back there and go take it from them.
Wow, what a great memory.
There's another one too. Now this BYU bowl win this last bowl season was a big deal. They came in ranked 12th, and we were 8-4, and we were a game away from playing for our fourth straight conference championship. And to go in there and knock them guys off the way we did was it was a great memory.
Oh man, I just always think I love asking that question to every guest because it just brings up so many great memories, but it also talks about just like the joy that there is in athletics.
The joy that's in there, and when to see the kids, to know their lives, to know their background and what they've been through, and to go out there and do things together as a team, because those things don't happen unless you've got a group of kids that care about each other and they play for each other. Championships aren't given away. You got to go take them, and there's somebody else over on that other sideline that are pretty daggone good too. So those moments only happen when you have the right culture and the right kids.
Oh, that's a good word of wisdom right there. Well, Coach,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the show. It was nice to chat with you and hang out with you.
Anytime, Sarah. It was good seeing you, hon. You take care of yourself. And always, as always, if you ever need anything, let me know.